All right, welcome everybody. My name is Adriana
Yep.
So, and I am one of the college success coaches with the American Young College Fund. So for some of you, might be your coach. For some of you, I might have been your coach last semester. For some of you, this might be your first time seeing me since the meet and greet or whatever. And then I just want to say hello to everybody on YouTube as well who's joining in. But hello everybody and welcome you all here. Again, like I was talking, some of you, this might be your first time attending a mental wellness talking circle. Some of you are maybe, repeat attendees, which is great. For those of you who are joining in for the first time, this event's going to run about an hour and a half. But should you need to jump off for any reason, we will be recording it, as you just saw that I started the recording. We are going to be recording this event and posting to our YouTube channel. But you might be asked to do some commentary or some participate in like some questions or anything. So just know that we will be editing your responses out just to maintain your privacy. So just want to make sure to put that out there just in case any of you might be feeling a little hesitant on answering questions, but we definitely encourage you to participate if you're asked to. But yeah, without further ado, again, this might be your first time here. For those of you who have been coming to these sessions, we are joined again here by Jacqueline Salabai. So Jacqueline Salabai has been an amazing individual who has been helping us with the mental wellness talking circles. She has a lot of experience in these areas and talking about mental health and kind of developing strategies and techniques and everything and talking about all the little bits and pieces of what all revolves around mental health. So again, we want to welcome everybody to just say hi in the chat, just participate however you want to. And I will be hopping off. So I just wanted to say hi to everybody. I'll be hopping off. And then at the end, when we're kind of approaching the end time, I'll jump back in and then remind everybody to fill out the survey. Again, for those of you who need to attend an event for the semester still, this does count for the mental, I can't remember the full thing, but it's the mental wellness component. But to get your attendance for that one, you'll need to fill out the event evaluation survey at the end. So I'll come back in and I'll give you that link basically. And then Jacqueline has it too, if anything should happen to me. So without further ado, I will go ahead and turn it over to Jacqueline. And yeah, Jacqueline, just let me know if you have any questions in the meantime. We'll see everybody.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about stress management again. So I don't know how many of you are returning from last week. If you can give me a thumbs up or a hand raise of how many were here last week. If you could do that really quick, I would be really happy to see who was here last week. I recognize some names. I see Derek was here last week, Rochelle. Okay, awesome. So last week I went into a little bit more of like the scientific background of, just a little bits and pieces of the science background of stress and also kind of talking about self-care a little bit. But today I think we're going to go into it more from a cultural perspective and talk about stress management. And so let me write a note real quick. So let me do my introduction first. My name's Jacqueline Salabai. Kiani National Techni Bashashin. Tobahan Edishiche do Turijini Edishinella Originally, I'm from the Lower Greasewood area in Arizona, and I went to high school in Winslow, Arizona. Grew up in the border towns majority of my life. And right now I'm living in Flagstaff, Arizona. So the weather has been pretty nice. I mean, it's gotten colder this morning. But today is just really weird. Like, I don't know. I don't know if you have those days where you're just like almost like feeling like outside of your body and like so strange. Like everything's weird. And then I'm driving around town and everything's just like so difficult to get to. I don't know. It's just one of those weird days for me. And it's kind of stressing me out. So yeah, it's just like that feeling off day. I see your chat So I'm kind of feeling like that, and I'm kind of like it's getting me stressed out a little bit. So um, yeah. So what I did was I came back and I got some nice yummy tea in my cup, and I'm just sitting here like, what is this? You know, I don't know. But today we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about stress management, and we're gonna hear a little bit more from you today, as opposed to last um, meeting. We talked more about what, kind of an educational standpoint. And today we're going to get more feedback from you. So, just a little bit of background of my history of, what my career is. I'm a social worker, and I went to NAU and got my BSW, and then went to ASU and got my MSW. And during those times, I um, did a lot of work with children, youth, and families, advocating um, for children, youth, and families. But a lot of good experiences, a lot of good people I met along the way. Um, and I like to, talk about, you know, a lot of us have started from the bottom. We've, worked odds and end jobs, and, struggled to get through college. And, sometimes things don't go as we think they should. And it kind of throws us off, right? Um, and during my career and working towards my MSW, there's a lot of hurdles, a lot of tears, a lot of sweat, and it was a really difficult time to get through it, but I eventually did. And as a result, right now I work as a grantee technical assistant, and I'm working with a company that, I travel every other month or every month to someplace new, and I work with tribal communities across the nation. And so that's really something that is my passion and what I do. But also it's very rewarding to work with community, and that's I think my second focus is right underneath children, youth, and families is community, mainly indigenous communities. So, all right, I see some of you in the chat introducing yourself. Thank you for providing that. Again, I'll say this again, like building connections and, networking within this space is also encouraged. I know some of you have similar backgrounds with, similar majors. You might be helpful to one another. So don't be afraid to, share an email address or whatnot. And then in the future, you might run into each other, because I've seen it happen before. um, so let's go into our discussion, and let me do a time check real quick. Okay. So we're going to talk about stress, and let me minimize my window. So stress is basically a state of worry or anxiety, right? That's caused by a difficult situation. And so this visual that I have here, it's basically a medicine wheel, but also includes other outside factors. And so within the medicine wheel, we're used to saying emotional for sorry, we're used to saying mental for the intellectual part. And so if you take a look at this is kind of what I've adapted for these wellness talking circles. And I always like to bring this into the group because it really helps to explain the holistic, our holistic self, right? Our whole being. And so when I say, holistic, that's basically your whole being, right? So the intellectual, spiritual, physical, and emotional is what is making up the medicine wheel, as we know. I know each tribe has different medicine wheels, and so this is kind of just to explain, the components of who we are. And then within that next circle, we have our friends, our mentors, our supports, our family. And so those are individuals who are close to us. And then outside of that, we have the other four areas, which are financial, social, occupational, and environmental. And so you can take a look at this. I'll have some resources at the end of this presentation. I shared it with the individuals last week, but you can look into these more in detail. And all 8 of these components are basically what comprises the 8 8 I'm getting a blank. 8 components of the wellness wheel. Okay, so you can look at those more and get definitions for them and exactly what, what's defined underneath those 8 components. When we talk about stress, stress can look different for each and every one of us. And there's a big difference in how, stress has come about. Like a long time ago, stress was different from, like 4 generations back. It's totally different from what it is now, right? It looks different. It might be processed different. So, like an example of stress could be back in the day, maybe, food was dwindling and, somebody had to go out and, gather some food or, hunt. And so the stresses of cold weather, or maybe there was a low harvest, or, that type of thing. And people were stressing about, how were they going to eat, and starting to ration food. And so that type of stress is different from today. And our stress might include, our cell phone, and like my phone's dying. Right. I'm stressed out because I need to, get somewhere, and I can't use Google Maps, and I don't know where I'm going, and my phone's at 5%. And so what do I do? And that type of stress is totally different. And there's different levels of stress, right? Some can be something as simple as a cell phone, but some are major and they're big, right? Like you're juggling all these different things at one time, and you let one fall, and that can cause some stress, right? I like to use the analogy because I've been there, a single parent juggling, the kids with trying to make dinner or get to a certain place to an appointment. But us at the same time, trying to think about finances and bills and gas and food and what's for dinner, and all these different things you're juggling at the same time. So stress can be something small, or it can be something giant and big and dramatic, right? No matter what the stress is, a lot of the times it produces changes within these different areas that are on this wheel, the medicine wheel, and outside of it. I'm kind of thinking of, what are some stressors. Like today for me, it was, something was going on with me mentally. And I was kind of a little off, like in my thinking intellectually. And so what I don't know what it was, but everything just seemed to be a little off. And so that was causing me to have stress because I kept thinking, I kept going, I wanted to go a certain place, but at the last minute, I would change my mind and I would go somewhere else. And yeah, I wholeheartedly believe in, you're put on here on earth for a specific reason, and creator will make a path for you. And so whatever that was today, it was kind of just like, I don't feel like myself, but things are like moving how they want to move, right? And so from my perspective, it was a little stressful because it wasn't what I was anticipating, or what usually happens in my day to day, right? And so that brought me some stress. And it brought me some changes within my whole being intellectually, and I'm just kind of sitting here thinking about it. Emotionally, maybe a little bit of frustration, maybe a little bit of like why is this happening? And, what is going on? Physically, I think stress kind of just brings me down a little bit physically. When things are off, I tend to, just step back and be like, okay, maybe you just need to chill out for a couple of hours and see where you're at. Um, and that might include, calling up a friend or a family member and saying, is something different? What is happening? And just kind of having that little chat like I was um, just a minute ago or earlier when I jumped onto Zoom, and I kind of had that chat. And what was mentioned was the moon and, the full moon and how it can change your trajectory of your day. And I was like, you got a point there. um, but it also can cause some other major changes within my brain, my hormones, the way that I'm responding. Am I fighting? Am I freezing? Am I in flight mode? Am I just running from everything and just shutting it all off and saying, you know what, I'm not gonna do this today. So that was kind of what I was talking about when I used the word changes. And then that example I used of today kind of just throwing me off. But the other examples, um, I like to use the concept of identity. And, sometimes we get in stressful situations or we get put in certain environments where we feel like, we're not 100%. I'm not living up to these certain expectations of who I should be culturally. So like I'm going into a group of individuals and, I don't speak my language. Um, I don't know what ceremony is, and, that's okay. But when I'm going into those certain situations, I might feel like I'm not 100%, right? And I might feel a little bit like, maybe I don't belong here, or maybe I shouldn't be right here. A lot of the times, I felt that when going into college spaces, and sitting in college classes, thinking, I'm not like these other individuals. But over the years, it kind of was like, okay, that's no need to stress about. Okay, I get it. I'm different. I can speak up for who I am. And it took some time to kind of go through those realizations of who I am as an Indigenous person, right? And so that's just an example. And that can bring up some stress. It can bring up some worry. It can bring up some questions about, well, then who really am I? And I know, working with youth a lot of the times, that was the question that came into play is, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how I'm living my life, and I don't know which way I'm going. Um, and I feel like I don't belong anywhere. Um, and that was really difficult to navigate at times. But I feel like, it's a lot of searching. So that can bring a lot of stress into an individual's life, a young person's life. That's one example. Um, the other example would be, a newcomer coming into a new space. Last week I shared, the example of, going into a new school. What was it like to walk into that new classroom? So a new space could be, a new job. I know a lot of the times walking into that new job and just feeling so anxious and like unsure of yourself and like, oh my God, what's going to happen? Who's my boss going to be? What about my coworkers? Are they going to judge me? And that was early on. And now, as I become older and more experienced in the field, and it's like, okay, you got this. You know what you're doing. You've got the education, you got the experience, and you walk in and you do what you need to do, right? And so, just taking those life lessons, those experiences, and really moving through them and using those in everyday and day-to-day life and dealing with stress. And so those are kind of just examples that I pulled from, but I want to ask you all, what do you experience? I'm going to use Menti again. If you like to use the link on this PowerPoint and open that up, or oh geez. So the number is 1463, and the
You mean post in the chat?
yeah, I'm gonna do that right now. Or you can use your phone and use that little what do you call that, QR code. Let me stop sharing and let me post in the chat, because that's a little easier. 1 second, copy, and let me put in the chat. So here's the link, and the code is 5750. There we go. So click that link, and I don't know if you have to put in the number, but if you do, there's the number. And go ahead and answer the question about, let me see if I have to turn that thing on. Present, and I can see everyone's responses. Let's share this, because I like to show you all in real time what the responses are. So what kind of stress do you experience? Let's share this. Forgive my tabs. Oh my gosh, I know. I love so many tabs. I could have like 25 tabs open. Okay. So, what stress do you experience? Let's see. Keep them coming. I'll give you a few more seconds. I love word clouds, especially when they're live. Okay, let's go through it. All right. Time management is major. Time management is so important. Like today, I'll tell you the truth. Like today, I didn't want to do nothing because I just felt so weird. So I was watching a movie for like 2 hours, and then I felt bad because I watched the movie, and I was like, it's okay. You needed some time to just chill and not focus on what's happening or what's going wrong. But yeah, it really felt like, you know what, you need to look at your time and how you're managing that. Even though it was 2 hours, I don't know. That was just me. But yeah, time management is so important. Some of us have planners. We like to write it on paper. Other, we like to use our phones. I'm a big person using my calendar. I like to section them out into 30-minute increments and be like, this is where I got to be, what I got to do. And especially with appointments, important meetings, I always have those in my calendar, whether it's my work calendar or my personal calendar. Academics, yes, that's major stress. School, family, health. Health can be a stressor, yes. Bills, finances, yeah. I would think that would be one of the number one stressors. Family, yes. overwhelmed with a lot of different things. True. Time, homework, being a single parent, missing family events. That can cause some stress and some sadness, right? Not being able to be present. Postpartum, yes. Relocation, postpartum is major. You're having to deal with changes, new baby, new everything, new body, adapting to the hormone. But yeah, that's a lot. Lack of sleep, interpersonal, forgetting tasks, depression, being behind academic success, studying. Studying can be difficult if you don't have the time. That can cause a lot of stress. And I see a lot of these things that can be addressed with time management. If you take a look at that, kind of look through and see which ones can be addressed with time management. Anxiety, depression. And that goes into more of self-care. How are you caring for your mental well-being? Is it making sure that you go to see a therapist and see, where you fall in terms of depression or anxiety? Do you need more professional expertise? Mental, yeah. Missing family events. Oh yeah, I read that one. Overthinking, internet is not available. That can be huge. I used to work for a nonprofit called Native Americans for Community Action, and they we experienced a lot of calls during COVID because a lot of the students didn't have access to internet on the reservation. And, Navajo's like a drive north, or, it's like 30 minutes. And so we got a lot of calls on assistance, or what do we do, or do you have hotspots, and, whatnot. And so, yeah, that can be very stressful. Sports, traveling, losing family. Oh yeah, that's definitely can cause some grief and stress. Mom stress, yeah, I feel you on that one. Girlfriends and boyfriends definitely cause stress. Caring for my Takoja. Oh yeah, caring for our relatives, for our grandparents, our elders. That can cause some stress financially and emotionally. Awesome. Thank you for sharing all this information. Cultural events back home, and performance anxiety. Yep, that's very true. Kids all angry. Yeah, kids can be a challenge. I have 4 daughters, and so they range from 4 years old to 21 years old. And so I'm going through one thing after another, every single day, and it's a wide range. From one throwing a tantrum to another one, needing financial assistance or something, or support, and it's can be stressful. Burnouts is very real. Know your boundaries. That kind of goes into understanding what you can handle and what you can't handle. Doing a self-assessment. We'll talk about that here in a minute. Lack of motivation, that's very real. Weather, need a job, lack of time, juggling schoolwork, paying bills, children, self-sabotage, and lack of motivation. To kind of go hand in hand, right? Those are more mental, understanding why you do that and what's the cause of it is really helpful. I experienced that time and time again, that lack of motivation. It's really difficult sometimes. And then as you get up in your career, sometimes it comes to a point of like, what is the next step, just like you come to your graduation and you're thinking, what is the next step? Where do I go from here? And I feel like I have to make that next step. And sometimes I get burnout. Sometimes I get that lack of motivation. And I wonder where it's coming from. So I have to sit down and kind of work through that. I see a lot of finances, money, life, paying bills. Yeah, it's a lot. So I'm gonna go move forward since we have 30 minutes left. Thank you for your information. Thank you for participating. Thank you for being real in what you're sharing. I'm gonna stop sharing this and I'm going to go over and share the PowerPoint again. So I was talking about, understanding boundaries and understanding, your self-assessment, taking that self-assessment. I know some of you might do this on a daily basis, and it's what I do. I take a self-assessment pretty much maybe every other day. Of course, when I wake up, I understand, like, am I feeling okay physically? What am I thinking intellectually? I'm saying my prayers spiritually, emotionally. I'm kind of like, do I feel sad, or happy? Automatically, how you feel. Socially, do I have to run outside and go attend something or jump on a meeting? Sometimes I don't feel like it. Sometimes I just want to be with myself. Financially, how am I doing? Am I stressing about that the first thing I wake up? Or is it like, okay, I'm good, I'm okay with that? In my career, am I stressing? Is there something going on that I need to attend to? Environmentally, what does that look like? Environmentally, am I stressed out because there's a lot of clutter? Am I stressed out because, I have a lot of people in the house that are throwing me off a little bit? And so that's kind of what I'm meaning by self-assessment. And you can take that in any way. You can take that and look at yourself daily, or you can do a weekly check-in and say, how am I doing in each of these 8 areas? Am I doing good in these areas? And which areas do I need to work on? And so that's what I'm kind of talking about when I'm discussing self-assessment. And then creating boundaries, that's kind of the same, almost in the same instance, is, if there's something I need to work on in these areas, do I need to create some boundaries so that I'm being healthy and I'm being well in these areas? So one example is family. I know last semester, individuals had a hard time, I don't want to say dealing with family, but there was in some instances where family became an issue, and it caused some barriers and challenges. And so, are there some boundaries that need to be made? Is there a discussion that needs to be held? Is there some time that you need to say no? And then occupational, I know 2 semesters ago, we had an individual struggling with classes. They weren't doing too well and they were afraid to, speak up. And so is that I've been there. I've struggled with classes. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know where to turn. I was afraid to talk to anybody about it, and I just kind of held it to myself, right? And I was thinking, I can deal with this myself. I can just push through it. And that wasn't helpful at all. What I really should have done was, communicate. And so really understanding where I stand and what needs to be done. I like to use the wheel and really write those things out. That's kind of what I do. So that visual is there for you, to help you. If you want to take a picture of it, that's totally fine. If you need it emailed to you, I can do that as well. And so that kind of goes into the discussion about self-care. How are you caring for yourself to maintain your health, your overall health? And that's where I was talking about the 8 dimensions of wellness. And this is the picture of those 8 dimensions. And the resource list, I'll give you more information about these, but you can look these up. You can just Google 8 dimensions of wellness and a lot of information will come up. And this kind of diagram is what I like to use when I'm doing my self-assessment. This is how I visualize it and how I think about things when I'm doing that self-assessment. And then of course, caring for your whole well-being, your whole being. What does that look like? And we discussed, or you saw all those stressors that we have. And so starting to think about, how are we caring for ourselves? And most of the time, I didn't know this until probably I was in college when I started to really understand that, I am important. I am needed here. I have a purpose. I am a puzzle in this gigantic life, or this gigantic, I'm a puzzle piece in this giant puzzle, right? And that I'm here for a reason and to help individuals. And so that really kind of falls in line with this, and that love for yourself. Sorry, I'm looking at the chat. So I know we have a lot of, we have a, what am I trying to say? We have, I have been trained in a curriculum called GONA, Gathering of Native Americans, and some of you might know it. And we go out to different communities and we co-facilitate on 4 days of GONA, going through the different stages, belonging, mastery, and also generosity. And so we go through each day and we're, discussing a lot of community issues. We're discussing and empowering at the same time, but we have a motto type of deal, when a saying that we use, and it's like, you are worthy, and I am worthy. And so through those 4 days, we use that instead of clapping, because clapping can be it can mean something else in a lot of different tribes. So we use, you are worthy, I am worthy. And I really like to use that word because, like I was saying, a lot of us didn't know that we were worthy, or we are worthy, and that we can make a difference, and that we are here for a purpose, and that we have the ability to do things, to make changes, to make positive strides in our communities. And so that is what I didn't learn that until I was in college. and that I do have the ability to take care of myself, and that it's okay to say I love you to myself and to care for myself. Like I said, who's going to care for my family if I can't, right? So I have to take care of myself and make sure I'm healthy. Um, so that's kind of just going into self-care. I could say a lot more on self-care, and we can go into a lot more, but I'll leave that for now. And we'll talk about the positives. We talked about stress, right? There's so many stresses out there. We can name thousands and thousands and thousands of them, and we can go through that all day. But the real key is, how do you practice self-care and manage stress? How do you practice self-care to manage stress? I'm going to share another Mentimeter. Let me get this situated. Hold on. I'll put it in the chat. Copy and paste. There we go. And let me know you all need a number for that, right? I don't know why the number's not coming up. Let me see.
I didn't need a number the first time.
Okay, I see your responses already. Awesome. Cool. Thank you for sharing that. Share screen, and we'll share the live feedback. All right, how are you practicing self-care to manage stress? Let's see, working out and meditating. Yes, that really does help. I try to manage my time to get a workout in, whether that's in the morning after I'm, dropping off my daughter. We'll run to the park and then just take a walk as long as I can, whether that's 20 minutes or 45. I just try to do it as much as I can. Meditate, it's huge. Yes, meditate. Me time is valuable. Naps are very important. I try to schedule in something when I have time to take a nap. Walking, yes.
See a link in the chat.
Excuse me, what did you say? Oh, you can't see the link? I put the link in the chat. If you can click on the link in the chat, that would be great. Let's see. What else is there? Walking. Attend a live concert. Yes. Or a game. Enjoy the outdoors. Take a walk. Listen to music and cook. Music in itself is very I think it's an amazing experience, because it can take you to places that it can remind you of the past, or can remind you of a specific thing, just like food. And so I think music is like one of those just amazing experiences. Same with cooking. But cooking, I think for me, it takes me to another place, and because I'm so focused, I just love cooking. I like to get outdoors and walk, and like starting the day with yoga. Yeah, I enjoy Pilates and yoga. That's awesome to do in the morning. And um, talking about it is very important, especially if you have a lot on your mind. especially if it's depression or anxiety, talking about it is very important. And this month is Mental Illness Awareness Month. And when you think about mental health, and you think about, the stigma associated with not being able to talk about it, that's really important to understand and to know that, find someone who you're able to talk to and who's not going to have those different mindsets than you. I know you have a trusting individual who you can reach out to, and if you can't find anybody, your coaches are there with American Indian College Fund. They can refer you to someone, or I'm not too sure if they still have the app. I gotta ask. They still have the app available to you all to use, but talking about it is very important. If you can't find anyone to talk to, don't be afraid to call 988 or go to your local clinic or your IHS. And if needed, go to urgent care. That's really important. Doing arts and crafts with my daughter. I do those almost every day with my 4-year-old. Painting, that's really stress relieving. Decompress and listen to music. No phone calls allowed during my 30-minute commute home from work. Oh, I love driving home from work. I just love driving because it helped me to turn on some music, and it just helped me to kind of just fade away and take, just not even think about anything and kind of just decompress, right? So by the time I got home, it was like, okay, I can deal with what's here now, either talking about it, exercising, or resting. Praying, yes, prayer is powerful. Prayer is amazing. Watch YouTube, cook, watch my favorite shows, go for a drive, breathing and meditating. Breathing is really important. That's one of the things I did today when I was feeling weird. I just kind of step back and be like, take those deep breaths. Those are really helpful. Being outside with my kids, going outdoors, yes, being in the elements, that's very important. Looking up at the sky and experiencing the sun, or whether it's cloudy and rain. I pray a lot and I attend self-help meetings. Those are important, yes. Cold showers, they make you feel alive, right? I know for a moment there, I was really interested in the Wim Hof method. And if you don't know what the Wim Hof method is, Google it. It's a really interesting concept where, you submerge yourself in cold water for a good period of time, and you have to harness your breathing. It's a really interesting method. Google it. It's pretty amazing. Me time, exercise, take a walk alone. Sorry, I lost the. What happened to it? I lost it. How do I get back? Okay. Enter. What happened? Okay. Well, sorry. Waking up early, eating breakfast, and working out in the morning. Yep. I always make a green smoothie with all kinds of healthy items, and I put them in my bullet, get it ready for my workout, and then I eat some oatmeal. I try to eat really, really healthy as much as I can, but I still have my moments. Go for walks and journal my thoughts. Journaling can be really helpful and beneficial. I like to journal my thoughts when I need to, when I don't have anyone available It really helps me to lay things out and see what's happening. Taking my dogs out for walks or your cat. I take a spa day at least once a month. Ooh, or a massage. That sounds really awesome. Spa day sounds really good. Spend time for myself by relaxing, watching my favorite shows, eating a yummy snack. Nice. Only surround myself with positivity as much as possible. Yeah, that's really important. And then really identifying when you go into those negative thoughts, that negative slope, really understanding why and when. That's really important. Cruise around and listen to loud music while singing. That's fun. I can't say my singing's good. Hiking, read the Bible. Yes. Riding horses, taking a drive, beading, playing volleyball. Awesome. Staying hydrated, that's really important. Really goes into your physical being, right? Because without water, what happens to your body? You know, what happens to your brain? What happens to your thinking? It does really impact a lot of different things. Doing something different, taking a break from the problem. Yeah, that's really important. Redirecting your mind. That can be very helpful. But also understanding that you need to go back, and if it's an issue, you really need to address it. But taking a break from it can be helpful for you to refocus your mind and your thoughts, and then going back and saying, okay, what is the issue here and how do I address it? That's really important. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing here. And we're going to go into a brief discussion. Because we didn't just learn this overnight, right? We had to learn how we coped somewhere. And
Did you learn stress management?
yes, how did you learn? Sorry. If you take a look at the slide, where did you learn stress management? Like, who in your life taught you how to manage your stress and or self-care? And so some examples are here, some questions. What have elders taught you? What have your parents taught you? And in this day and age, a lot of our young people learn from social media. But overall, what makes you strong? And these are kind of just some talking points. And we have a few minutes here to go through some small comments. Go ahead, Latanya. I saw your hand first. Oh, awesome. Thank you for sharing. It's a really good reminder. You know, our elders are really important to us, and learning and taking the time now to listen to what they're saying. That's really important. I just cherish elders. All of my elders are gone now, but I didn't have grandparents to look up to either. So the ones I did have at the time, you know, they were uncles of my mom. So those were my elders in my life, but they're very, very important. So if you still have your elders, you know, hold on to them as much as you can and take time out of your day to listen to what they're saying, because it's really important. Thank you for sharing. And thank you for sharing your story. I mean, we don't understand, you know, how important it is that we practice self-care. You know, it's that, how are we preserving our own health, right? That's a really big question when it comes to certain times like that. And I'm glad that you found a balance. And healthy balance is really important to our life. And I go back to that circle and really identifying, you know, do you have a healthy balance within your life, and how does that look? So I really enjoy you sharing Thank you for sharing that. And it brings some real life into what we were discussing in terms of, studying and getting those straight A's. And there's, a discussion about, you can do great things, but if you're overdoing it and that's all you're doing, you eventually get sick, or you eventually, you know, um, it becomes unhealthy, right? And so when you are constantly trying to, seek out that money, or you're doing a certain behavior to receive, more scholarships, or to get those A's, and that's kind of like your high, and so at a certain point, it's going to become unhealthy. So really understanding what is your healthy balance. Are you maintaining a healthy balance? And that can go with anything. That it can go with, alcohol, sugar. It can go with any type of substance that or activity that you have in your life. But I really appreciate your words. And I see your chats. Sorry, I'm saying so much today. It's just my brain is like off all the lands. Emily, thank you for your words. And I see that, that you weren't taught, but you can gain a lot of information from these discussions, and we'll have them on the YouTube page, I believe. And it's not the last time you can eventually ask questions, right, to people around you, or your family, or individuals that can teach you, or just start asking questions. It's really part of learning, and I'm sure you're learning more now. Saying no is really important. That's a major part of building the boundaries. At one point, when I was working at nonprofit, I was also, doing a coalition, and also conference planning, and also part-time instructor, and trying to be on the PTO board, and all those kinds of stuff, right? And I was doing like 8 different roles in 1 year, right? And I burned myself out. I, started noticing that I was just eating to cope, and, just things. I wasn't walking as much as I used to. Caffeine started making me have heart palpitations. I started to have situations where my eyes weren't feeling good, and so like you notice all these things that are happening to you when you're having stress. You can feel it, you can see it in your body. Much like you're talking about, Derek, with your health situations, you can notice it. And so that healthy balance is really important. And so I've been there. I know kind of what you're talking about in terms of seeing that stress play out in your body. I would like to do one last activity before we leave. I want to share the resources really quick. If you want to take a picture of this, I shared this last time. The movie Inside Out, I shared that last time. It was an example. If you want to watch it, you can watch it. This is just a movie clip. Breaking Through Depression. It's a really good book. You Happier, awesome book. Self-care plan. This website teaches you how to create a self-care plan if you're having, issues with identifying what areas you need to work on. This is helpful. Doing What Matters in Time of Stress. This walks you through what you can do when you're experiencing stress. Really good booklet. It's like 100 pages long. It's really awesome. Mentimeter. Oh, just a shout out to Mentimeter. And then those are other shout outs for items I used the last presentation. But What I want to do before we leave is do a quick breathing visual exercise. I'm going to turn off my camera just because I'm going to close my eyes and I want you guys looking at me. I'm just kidding. Hold on one second. Let me stop my video. Okay, so I'm going to go walk you through this real quick. It'll take a few minutes and you can use this exercise if you like, if you want to use it. It's really helpful. Sometimes I use it when I'm like really freaking out about a presentation or something. And I'm like, okay, let me focus on my breathing a little bit more. Okay, so I want you to close your eyes. When I say take a deep breath, you're going to imagine all the positive of happiness or healthy strength. You're going to imagine all these good things going into your body, right? And then when I say breathe out, you're going to let go of that breath and you're going to imagine all the stresses coming out. Okay? But first and foremost, I want you to close your eyes and I want you to direct your focus towards kind of the front of your nose. And I want you to visualize a hummingbird. And I want you to imagine that this hummingbird is there in front of you. It's fluttering its wings. And you can imagine whatever colors you want. I think mine would be a purple and a blue and a teal. Just beautiful. Just fluttering away right in front of me. And I want to imagine that this hummingbird is going to help me with my breathing exercise and going down to my feet. And the hummingbird is just there in front of my feet, fluttering away. And I want you to take a deep breath and bring in all the good energy, all the good thoughts, all the good things. And I want you to exhale and breathe out. Long breath, all the stresses, all the negative thoughts. And I want you to bring the hummingbird up to your knees. And I want you to take a good deep breath in, longer than you did before. And release. Nice, long release. All those bad thoughts, negative energies. And flutter your hummingbird right in front of your stomach. And I want you to do a nice deep breath in. And nice deep breath out. And then imagine your hummingbird fluttering right by your heart. And imagine your hummingbird fluttering, its wings fluttering really quickly. You can hear him or her fluttering. And take a deep breath in. All the good. Release all the bad. Now bring your hummingbird to your nose again. Take a deep breath in. Release your breath. Nice long release. Now I want you to bring your hummingbird right on top of your head and let it flutter there. And I want you to take a deep breath in and think of all the strength. Think of bring in that self-love, that self-care, that compassion, that goodness. Breathe it in. And release all the stress, all the negative, all the worry, all the anxiety, all the depression, all the hurts. And forgive yourself for any wrongdoing that you may have done, because we all make mistakes and we're not perfect. Let all those thoughts go. Now I want you to bring your hummingbird, open your hands, and let your hummingbird sit on your hand. And close your hand. And keep that with you. Put it to your heart. And go ahead and open your eyes. And I want to wish you all a good evening. I know there's a survey that's going to be put in the chat. And I see it there. I will repost the survey. And I wish you all a good night. And thank you for being here. And I appreciate you all. I don't know if there are any last words.
Good night, everybody. Bye.
All right, good night.
Thank you so much,
Yes.
Jacqueline.
You're welcome.
So for those of you who are here, I did post the survey link in the chat, and I'm going to go ahead and email everybody as well who registered the survey link just so that you have it again if you had to leave early. But yes, thank you again so much, Jacqueline. I really enjoyed hearing the latter half of that. But I hope you all enjoyed it as well. Please take some time to kind of debrief and let your mind rest, let your emotions rest and everything. Go eat, go drink some water, go outside for a walk. I know it's probably dark some places, but just try to get some fresh air, and please take care of yourself. Before we leave, I just want to share really quickly our next events happening. So we're right here at the very tippy top of October. It's also Navajo New Year for all of our Navajos out there. So Happy New Year. But next we have on, when is October 5th? Thursday, we'll have our Life of a First Generation student discussion where me and the coaches, Julio and Loyola, will kind of just be leading some discussion. Any students who are first generation students are welcome. Really anybody's welcome, honestly. And then we'll have the first of our first year programming. This is open to all students who are in their first year of college. Definitely attend that if you're interested in. And then we'll have on October 12th a drop-in with Julio. And this can be for any scholars, but especially scholars who are under Julio's cohorts, definitely pop in. These are optional. You can go if you have any questions or just want to talk to Julio. And then we'll have another first year program on October 19th. And then our next mental wellness talking circle is happening on October 24th. Again, that'll be happening at 6:30 Mountain Daylight Time. I think this is our last one before we head into standard time here. I know some places don't change, but we're changing times here pretty soon. And then we'll be ending the month of October with a time management webinar. So that'll be hosted by me and Julio. So again, thank you all so much for sticking it out, and let us know if you have any questions. Everybody on YouTube, thank you for joining. And again, I'll be sending out that survey link to everybody. So everybody have a good night. Thank you again, Jacqueline.
All right, we'll see you all. Have a good night.